Vice President. As you can see, folks, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris arriving there in purple, arriving on the east front of the Capitol.
They are greeted by the Senate Sergeant of Arms, Jennifer Hemingway, and the Acting House Sergeant of Arms, Tim Blodgett.
And there is President-elect Biden there, just out of the car, moving toward Vice President-elect Harris. Great weather for this, of course. There's Dr. Jill Biden there in, I would call that a teal.
Teal?
Teal or turquoise?
Who am I to?
Teal and turquoise?
Question.
Turquoise with teal trim.
Oh, there's, you can see Officer Eugene Goodman close by as well.
United States Capitol Police Officer Eugene Goodman, today's acting Deputy Sergeant at Arms.
He's in the brown overcoat, yes.
In the brown coat and scarf there. So, folks, you may have seen United States Capitol Police Officer Eugene Goodman. You may have seen some footage of him. So he has the special honor today of being the Deputy Sergeant at Arms.
I see the chair of JASIC, Senator Roy Blunt, close by.
Yeah, so some of JASIC meets them here at the bottom of the East Front steps. And then I think they meet some of the others as they walk a little bit further up the steps there.
Again, this is not an unfamiliar scene.
Senator Klobuchar, I believe, there in the
Sure is.
brownish coat, tan coat. And here we go, starting the walk up the stairs, the east front stairs. Now remember, folks, presidents used to be inaugurated right here on these east front steps. Presidents were inaugurated here, basically starting with Andrew Jackson.
I think President Reagan got it right. The West Front is so much better, but it's historic to be on the side.
The move to the West Front in 1981 is one of those things where people think it's always been that way. Just like the Supreme Court getting their own building in 1935, we think it's always been that way. Here we go, going up the East Front steps. You can see some United States Capitol Police officers flanking there. And approaching the east door. Beautiful carved bronze doors.
Tourists used to enter through here. The Speaker's office used to be in the lobby out to the left.
Yeah, this door is not used a lot, folks. I have to say, Ron and I and our colleagues in the visitor services and guide service, we are in the Capitol just about every day, and we don't see these doors open a whole lot.
Another name for them are the Randolph Rogers doors, cast in Munich by the Royal Bavarian Foundry. 10,000 pounds. And the panels show the life of George Washington. Well, his history.
Little scenes,
and
the
Columbus.
scenes of them. Columbus and Washington, they go up the sides. Also, we got a view of the inside here. Folks coming into that east door.
Excellent footage.
There's President-elect Biden and Dr. Jill Biden. You can see we got a nice sunny day. There's Vice President-elect Harris and Doug Emhoff.
And friends, I know what you're thinking.
And the J-stick behind them, Senator Blunt.
Where are they going? To a hold area.
And there's Speaker Pelosi coming through again. The color of the day, I think turquoise. And Senator Mitch McConnell. And here we are looking at the Marine Band again. Like I said, they are going to be playing all day. And a little close-up of those uniforms, or a little bit of detail about those uniforms. As you know, they have the epaulettes, the braiding on the shoulders. But Ron, trivia question for you. Do you know what the braids in the front are? They sort of hang down. They almost look like a bolo tie, sort of.
I don't, and I should.
They're called eglets. Eglets. And you can see the ones on the officers are gold. And then the other folks in the band there, Marine Band, they have white epaulets and eglets. So they're sort of hang down in the front, little sort of tassely looking things.
Oh, look at the passion of the director. Let's listen together. Ladies and gentlemen, this is typical of inaugurations on the West Front. What are we doing? Waiting patiently.
I think that may be Representative Delorio there. Her green footwear just at the top of camera now, but she's usually got some distinctive hair color and clothes that we can spot her even with masks on. It's difficult sometimes to identify our members of Congress when everybody is masked up in this pandemic.
Now, Jen, people have watched for a couple hours now. They might be wondering, well, wait a minute. I see marble that's different colors. You would be correct.
Oh, yeah.
That marble from Vermont, Maryland, and Massachusetts, specifically Massachusetts.
Yeah, and on the inside of the building, we see a lot of sandstone and a little bit of concrete. These are concrete walls here inside what we sort of lovingly refer to during inaugurations as the chute, right? This is where people are going to be sort of slaloming out, if you will. The chute brings to mind kind of like a water park, right? But they're going to kind of come down from the rotunda and out those doors onto the platform on the west side. So the door just behind us in this shot.
This chute is at the bottom of the staircase, which connects to the crypt.
Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention toward the inaugural platform. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark A. Milley.
General Milley coming out now, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
And again, on previous inaugurations, you would just see tens of thousands of people. You see, this is still quite a moment.
Yeah, this platform normally packed, elbow to elbow, folks in there, just like the early House and Senate chambers, actually. You know, National Statuary Hall members were crammed in there elbow to elbow until they expanded into the new House chamber in the 1860s.
I want our public, I want our audience to, maybe not now, but this afternoon, this evening, YouTube or Google inaugurations in the past. You will see people sprawled, not on the west side, but the east front, everywhere, hanging from the dome in places they shouldn't be. This is a most appropriate set.
Yes, famous photograph of Lincoln inaugural. It's just crammed with spectators. That is Steve Scalise there on the right, I believe.
It would be from Louisiana. He would be the minority whip.
Our Marine band playing. They've got, like I said, they've got a full day. They've got a full concert. It's one tune after another there. We're going to be hearing from them some familiar tunes and some special selections. Marine band, they've also got what's called the blood stripe, I believe, down the side of the trouser leg, which is unique to their uniform. Okay, we're back to the chute. Ron's leaning in close to identify who we're seeing on screen here. Being shown their marks, how to come out. I think that might be Clyburn in the red hat.
From South Carolina, it is. Yeah,
And everybody's got to know before they come out where they're going to on the platform.
Muy buenos días señoras y señores. ¿Qué día el de hoy? Día 20 de enero del año 2021. Le doy la bienvenida a este espacio donde juntos vamos a estar hablando de diferentes temas. Estamos con imágenes en directo desde la ceremonia de inauguración de el señor Joe Biden. Para nada estamos contentos algunos de las personas que estamos aquí, pero bueno, es parte de lo que toca al estar aquí en los Estados Unidos. Desgraciadamente el señor Joe Biden asumirá hoy la presidencia de los Estados Unidos de América. Yo no estoy feliz, yo estoy haciendo esto hoy para cubrir el espacio, pero es parte de lo que nos toca. En unos instantes el doctor Alex González estará con nosotros por acá y le voy a pedir que comparta este video para llegar a más personas y escuchar los comentarios también del doctor Alex González. Los buenos días para todas las personas que van llegando y estamos a la expectativa. Estamos viendo qué es lo que está sucediendo ahora mismo en el Capitolio de los Estados Unidos. Estábamos viendo la banda del ejército de los Estados Unidos en esta emisión donde ellos están. Esto me parece ridículo, señores. Esto me parece ridículo de verdad. Pero bueno, es parte de la política americana, un poquito raro, pero it is what it is, señores. Es lo que es. No queda de otra. Y pues bueno, ahí vemos cómo van llegando. Vamos a ver cómo van llegando las personas en esta ceremonia que se va a hacer mayormente de forma virtual. Pero bueno, parece que escucharon los reclamos y las burlas de las personas y ya ven cómo van llegando algunos de los de estos seres humanos. Yo me imagino que a Biden y a Pelosi la hayan llevado ahora a cargar, a ponerle batería, porque después de subir esas escaleras se quedaron sin batería. Vamos a estar viendo, haciendo un tiempo en lo que va llegando el doctor Alex González para ver esta ceremonia.
Well dressed for potential bad weather.
Oh, he could be in a short sleeve shirt, but he's used to this. This is
Really comfortable weather for today's inaugural compared to some years past.
such as President George W. Bush. I can recall walking down the street, sliding on Constitution Avenue, just trying to get a glimpse. It was
1829, Andrew Jackson's inauguration. The weather was so bad they had to do it inside the House chamber.
Ahí están llegando los políticos y bueno, aquí vamos a ver, señores, una presencia muy fuerte de todas estas personas que apoyó la campaña del presidente electo. Dentro de apenas unos minutos, el presidente.
Leadership of the United States Senate. President pro tempore emeritus, the Honorable Patrick Leahy and Mrs. Marshall Leahy. Democratic Whip, the Honorable Dick Durbin and Mrs. Rima Doughton. Majority Whip, the Honorable John Thune and Mrs. Kimberly Thune. Democratic Leader, the Honorable Charles Schumer and Mrs. Irish Weinshall Schumer. And President pro tempore of the Senate, the Honorable Chuck Grassley and Mrs. Jennifer Hines.
Senator Patrick Leahy has time for everyone. We see him on tour everywhere. His office is close by the rotunda. He'll greet everyone. He can give the tour.
Y aquí ahora es lo que yo les contaba hace unos días. En este momento la prensa va a engrandecer la presencia de todos estos políticos y vamos a ir viendo, señores, cómo este país va a ser maravilloso a partir de hoy. Como este país no va a tener problemas porque la media va a encargarse de que tú cambies la percepción que tienes sobre el señor Joe Biden y sobre el partido de los demócratas. Es innegable que en este momento vamos a estar siendo testigos de la transición de la oscuridad de la media americana, donde todo estaba en contra del presidente, donde todo el mundo estaba reportando siempre las acciones negativas ocurridas durante estos últimos 4 años, y ahora vamos a estar conociendo de verdad las intenciones de esta media que verás, te lo anuncio hoy, 20 de enero del año 2021, verás cómo a partir de este instante todo lo que suceda va a ser visto desde el punto de vista positivo. Esto es algo que se esperaba y vamos a mirar a ver qué pasa. Están llegando ahora mismo los políticos. Esto da vergüenza, de verdad.
Wind picking up a little bit. Yeah, it looks that way.
I love this. The Constitution brings us here. It's really one sentence that is necessary. The oath. 37 words or 30.
You know, it originally said, I do solemnly swear or affirm and will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States. And James Madison and George Mason insisted the chief executive should also swear an oath to the Constitution. And so Congress approved that version. So they added a little bit to that oath of office.
That's what brings us here, the Constitution. And this date is because of the 20th Amendment. This was mentioned in the video earlier. Senator George Norris from the state of Nebraska proposed this in 1925.
Yeah, again, in terms of those things, we think of them as always happening this way. We think inaugurations always in January, but until quite recently, they were happening at other times, including March. We saw earlier in response to our trivia question that George Washington was actually inaugurated April 30th, but a lot of the other ones, March 3rd or March 4th.
Or in some cases, if it's on a Sunday, March 5th.
Yes, and if inauguration falls on a Sunday, that's right, they do not have it on the Sunday. They do kind of a small swearing in and then the official ceremony the next day. Actually,
President Wilson, I believe, was inaugurated on a Sunday. That happened once. It looks like Senator Mendez from New Jersey there. Forgive us if we're hesitating. It's difficult to see sometimes with masks.
So the Capitol has been closed to tours out of an abundance of caution, of course, for some months now. And so although these 535 members of Congress, senators are our bosses, I would say, we haven't seen them in a little while.
You know what's fun, Janet? I've seen times where former members of Congress, they've just casually walked up towards the West Front, and they know they don't have a seat, but they kind of blend in. That's kind of fun.
And gentlemen,
I think we saw some former members arrive earlier.
Dan Quayle.
Here's former Vice President Dan Quayle, the Honorable Dan Quayle, about to step through the chute and out the door. And again, we've got camera angles here that folks that not a lot of other people do. Although there is a little zone set aside, so if anybody, there's a little moment off camera where they can straighten a tie or just do a quick check every hair is in place. Of course, with the wind on the platform, there's only so much you can do, but at least when you step out.
Not the handshake, but the...
Yeah, we're seeing fist bumps here. Former VP Dan Quayle heading out there. We thought, I guess that Mrs. Quayle, Marilyn Tucker Quayle, I believe, was going to be accompanying him, but...
Y una de las cosas interesantes de entender en el día de hoy, señores, es que según estos medios de prensa, en este momento aquí en los Estados Unidos no existe ni una sola manifestación en contra de Joe Biden. Esto es algo que, bueno, voy a estar investigando, metiéndome en las páginas de la policía a ver si hay algún reporte, pero hasta este instante no existe ninguna manifestación en contra de este presidente electo. Vamos a seguir viendo esto. Son imágenes que salen desde el Capitolio de los Estados Unidos, donde se está haciendo la ceremonia, se está preparando la ceremonia de toma de posesión del señor Joe Biden, quien a partir de hoy a las 12 del día será el presidente, el número 46 de los Estados Unidos de América. Vamos a continuar mientras llega el doctor González González, que nos va a acompañar a hacer comentarios. Señores, hay que moverse adelante. Estados Unidos tiene que ser grande y, como nos dice nuestro presidente Donald J. Trump, en esta última hora y media en que disfrutaremos de libertad, de verdadera libertad, tenemos que luchar porque América siga siendo muy grande.
Recognize the member from their district passing through.
Looks like Senator Debbie Stabenow from Michigan. You mentioned about the People's House. Inaugurations take place here, not the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
not
that's
the
a
White
really
House.
good point. Where inaugurations don't happen.
Right. They make the laws that protect us here. Elected officials here. Accountability, Congress. It's important.
Well, and this is a ceremony that's happening publicly, in full view, right?
Look at that entrance to the crypt. That was an excellent shot.
So in the crypt of the Capitol, you can see these,
Y ahí llegan los Clinton, pero una de las noticias que quiero compartirles ahora es el hecho de que ya ha llegado Donald Trump y la primera dama de los Estados Unidos ya han llegado a Florida. Déjenme buscar aquí un momentito la imagen que está saliendo ahora mismo, la noticia que está saliendo ahora mismo en vivo. Ya no está el Titán, ya no está en Washington, ya se movieron a Florida. Y bueno, vamos a ver aquí la llegada de ellos. Señores, buenos días. Gracias a todas las personas que se van conectando. Aquí vemos... Déjenme ponerlo por acá. Esta es la llegada ahora mismo de el presidente de los Estados Unidos de América, el señor Donald J. Trump, llegando a Florida. Va a llegar a su residencia de Mar-a-Lago, como estuvimos diciendo ayer, y por muy triste que nos sintamos, ya el presidente ha dicho que tenemos que apoyar en esta transición, y estas son imágenes que nos llegan desde Florida, donde podemos ver el avión llegando con el presidente. Esta información es cortesía de los canales, déjame ver qué canales estoy utilizando ahora mismo. Pero realmente son imágenes que nos llegan cortesía de Fox 17, canal local. Aquí vemos el servicio de pues todo el tema de la seguridad en el aeropuerto, donde están esperando, por supuesto, al presidente. Y esto me parece que es mucho más interesante que estar viendo a toda esta gente llegar allí a la ceremonia. Vamos a estar haciendo un cambio de un switch con las informaciones, señores, entre una y otra cosa. Estas son las imágenes esperando la llegada del presidente Donald J. Trump a Florida, donde se estará ubicando en su residencia de Mar-a-Lago, en la Florida, luego de pedirle a sus patriotas que apoyáramos el proceso de transición pacíficamente. Él ha pedido que todo sea pacífico y así se está haciendo, se está logrando que haya paz en esta transición. El avión está aterrizando, estaremos viendo imágenes de esta llegada del presidente de los Estados Unidos a pues su residencia. Aquí vemos el servicio de policía que está encargándose de la seguridad y bueno, esto está ocurriendo en vivo desde Florida, así que vamos a ser pues testigos de este momento también. Otra de las imágenes que tengo por aquí, yo voy a estar vigilando esta transmisión y seguimos viendo cómo llega la gente. Ya llegaba, los Clinton estaban llegando ahí a la ceremonia de inauguración de Kamala Harris y Joe Biden. Es una ceremonia que a muchos nos incomoda, a muchos nos molesta, sí, pero bueno, it is what it is. Aquí están llegando ahora, en apenas hace unos instantes, estaban llegando Michelle y Barack Obama a la ceremonia de inauguración y vamos a estar mirando esto.
It's just rare when he's in the Capitol building.
And all these folks we're seeing, this is their home.
Oh, great.
They have memories here going back years, familiar faces around.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 43rd President of the United States, the Honorable George W. Bush and Mrs. Laura Bush.
Salen los Bush.
And onto the platform. Oh, we got a scarf slip there. You're right, that wind is picking up.
The Bush legacy, formidable.
Estas son las personas que tienen muchísimo interés en que Joe Biden llegue a la presidencia. Sabemos, el presidente número 43 de los Estados Unidos tiene vínculos directos, señores, con la producción armamentista y todo el tema de la guerra a la que fue Estados Unidos, las vidas que se perdieron, todo lo que sucedió, señores, en este país. Ahí vemos a Laura y George Bush llegando y detrás de ellos van a entrar, por supuesto, está Michelle Obama y Barack Obama.
George Washington giving his speech.
Los jueces de la Corte Suprema están llegando.
1921, Warren G. Harding. Oh, we have got the justices arriving
Executive
here.
branch.
Este es el poder judicial, el poder judicial llegando. Estos son los jueces de la Corte Suprema de los Estados Unidos llegando a este nombramiento. Es una ceremonia bien seria, bien bonita también. Durante la historia se ha hecho en diferentes meses, no solamente en enero.
Those are called tabards, those things that hang on their trumpets there. They have two sets.
Ahora vienen los Obama.
White, so those are the navy blue that we see there, and the herald trumpets. U.S. Army herald trumpets. So our justices in their robes coming down. They shoot. It's my understanding that they gather in the
Ladies
old
and
court
gentlemen,
chambers.
the 44th
Get the robes
President
on
of
and
the
kind of come all out
United States,
together.
the Honorable Barack H. Obama and Mrs. Michelle Obama.
Noticeable applause.
I hear the applause there. Very helpful to have announcers.
As a senator, I once shared the same elevator with him.
You know,
So
I
that
got
for you.
here, I actually moved to Washington on Election Day, 2008. Came here to work at the Capitol just about a week later. And then, so my first big public event was actually President Obama's first inaugural, 2009. And my job for the day was actually to escort people to their spots, to their seats.
Oh, nice.
As we mentioned this year, you know, different seating than in years past.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Chief Justice of the United States, the Honorable John G. Roberts Jr., and the Associate Justices of the Supreme Court.
Justice Sotomayor will be doing the swearing.
Ahí está, ese es el jefe del Tribunal Supremo, de lo que es la Corte Suprema de Justicia, Sonia Sotomayor. Y estos son los miembros de el Tribunal Supremo, el mismo tribunal que rechazó las demandas por fraude del presidente Donald J. Trump. Y vemos ahí pues a estos magistrados que son parte de la rama judicial, parte importante del poder judicial. Son ellos quienes llevan el poder judicial de este país y están llegando ya presentes. Una parte de ellos, porque no están los 9, faltan 3 personas en esta ceremonia. Ahí vemos a Bush, Clinton, vemos a todas estas personas. Ahí vemos a la Hillary Clinton, que debe estar muriéndose de envidia, pero bueno.
Ladies and gentlemen, the children of Vice President-elect Harris and Mr. Douglas Imhoff, Cole Mackin Imhoff, and Ella Rose Imhoff.
You know, I was reading that we have a lot of stepmothers involved in the ceremony today. Dr. Jill Biden, stepmother to President-elect Biden's sons, and then, of course, Vice President-elect Harris, stepmother to these 2 individuals here.
This is likely as much as we'll see of the children as coverage of young people. It's out of respect to the family. So
being shown to their seats. They are young, 21 and 26. And Vice President Harris has been their stepmother for a few years now. I think they were maybe teens.
This seems so strange that
Voy a revisar entonces la llegada del presidente. Aquí estamos viendo, señores, ya la llegada del avión del señor Donald Trump, el Air Force One. Aún se llama Air Force One porque aún está el presidente de los Estados Unidos de América en el avión. Este va a ser su último viaje como presidente de los Estados Unidos, señores, y de verdad para mí ha sido un orgullo poder vivir en los Estados Unidos bajo el mandato del presidente Donald Trump y de verdad que ha sido el orgullo de muchos hispanos, señores, que venimos con ganas de salir adelante, con ganas de triunfar en este país, y bajo su presidencia hemos logrado conquistar nuestros sueños porque su intento de hacer América grande nuevamente nos dio el impulso para volvernos grandes nosotros mismos. Día muy triste para los Estados Unidos de América, que se despide de su presidente número 45, un presidente que ha sido odiado y querido por muchos y que hoy realiza su último viaje en el Air Force One, el avión del presidente de los Estados Unidos. Hasta este instante, él es el presidente de los Estados Unidos hasta este instante, y durante la próxima hora aún el Air Force One, en este instante es el avión Air Force One. Si no estuviese el presidente, pues no llevaría ese nombre. Se ha despedido de Washington Donald J. Trump junto a Melania y su familia, y se han movido en este momento hacia la Florida. Aquí vemos el avión llegando a la Florida. Es un momento bien triste. Le agradecería mucho a las personas que, por favor, fueran corteses con los comentarios. Aclarar que en YouTube, específicamente en este canal de YouTube, no existe la democracia. Aquí no somos democráticos, somos personas dando un contenido donde nos divertimos, donde lloramos, donde somos felices. Hoy es un día triste, despidiéndonos del presidente número 45, Donald J. Trump, y de verdad, señores, de verdad, esperemos que este país salga adelante, esperemos que este país... Ahora vamos a estar siendo testigos de toda la campaña mediática que se va a realizar. Ahí llega el Air Force One con Donald Trump a Florida, y pues estaremos, señores, viéndolo bajar por esas escalerillas por última vez como presidente de los Estados Unidos. Quiero que entiendan las personas, yo estoy tratando de saltar de una transmisión a la otra, señores. Aquí vamos a estar mirando, pues precisamente ya están realizando todas las condiciones para bajar al presidente de ahí, y entiendan de que nosotros estamos cubriendo lo más importante. Ahora mismo... todo esto es muy triste. Yo prefiero cubrir esto. La ceremonia de Morbosín, al final de cuentas, es más de lo mismo, señores. Es más de lo mismo, y vamos a estar haciendo enlace con Washington en apenas unos instantes. En este momento, Donald Trump, presidente número 45 de los Estados Unidos de América, ha llegado a la Florida, donde se está radicando en su residencia de Mar-a-Lago, y de verdad es muy triste, muy triste. Ya, si se dan cuenta, no está el vehículo oficial del presidente de los Estados Unidos, no está para esperar ahí al presidente. Ya no es un vehículo oficial. Si crees que Donald Trump ha sido un buen presidente, me gustaría que pusieras en los comentarios la palabra gracias. Es bien triste, señores, este momento. Yo como latino le agradezco mucho, de verdad, abrí los ojos. Yo pensaba que llegar a los Estados Unidos era fácil y llegué. En mi primer año la vi muy difícil bajo el mandato de Barack Obama, y cuando Donald Trump llegó al poder, los trabajos comenzaron a ser mucho mejores, los pagos mucho mejores, la sociedad cambió, sí cambió. Hubo gente que sacó su odio, sí lo sacó, pero yo agradezco mucho las oportunidades que tuve durante este tiempo, estos 4 años que para mí no fueron los... Aquí vemos a Donald Trump, señores. Bajando la escalerilla del Air Force One por última vez como presidente de los Estados Unidos de América. Aquí vemos el resto de los miembros de la familia. Ivanka Jr., Donald Trump Jr. La familia Trump se ha movido a la Florida, señores. Se ha movido a la Florida y ellos ya se salen por última vez de este avión presidencial, el Air Force One. Día triste de verdad. Donald Trump se ve... Yo solo quisiera decir y aprovechar la cobertura que podemos tener, poca, media, grande, aquí en mi canal, para agradecer públicamente el servicio del presidente. Él trabajó para el pueblo americano, no se benefició en lo personal, y de verdad que Dios bendiga a nuestro presidente Donald Trump. Todo el mundo está cubriendo todo el mundo está cubriendo esta parte de la ceremonia. Yo prefiero en este instante, señores, cubrir esta despedida del presidente. No podemos dejar que los ánimos caigan. Tenemos que seguir, señores, adelante. Pero es un día triste. Es un día de pensar, señores, de pensar que incluso un hombre poderoso como Donald Trump puede fallar y no darse por vencido. Si no se da por vencido Donald Trump, ¿por qué lo haríamos nosotros? Entonces tenemos que utilizar esto como inspiración para nuestras propias vidas. Tenemos que darnos cuenta de que no es el fin. América es grande, señores. América es tierra de oportunidades, tierra donde la gente llegó sin nada, donde llegamos sin nada, señores. Y gracias al trabajo, gracias a todo lo que aprendimos llegando aquí, pues podemos decir que nos hicimos mejor personas. Que Dios bendiga a los Estados Unidos, señores. Que Dios bendiga a los Estados Unidos. Es muy emocionante ser testigos de este momento, de este instante donde el presidente sale como del avión presidencial ya no va a ser más el presidente de los Estados Unidos de América. De momento hay que ver qué sucede con todo este proceso de impeachment, pero ahí estamos viendo la caravana de vehículos que sale y que viene con el presidente, la seguridad, todo el tema de logística, todo el tema. Es muy triste de verdad, señores, bien triste. Voy a compartirles en unos instantes, vamos a volver a la ceremonia de inauguración, donde están todos estos señores a pilas, porque parece que llevan batería. Y pues ellos están ya en esta ceremonia, siguen llegando. Ahora va a entrar la Kamala Harris. Esa mujer a mí me cae como el... Bueno, no debo dar opiniones personales. Pero bueno.
Goodman, Eugene O. Goodman, private first class, United States Capitol Police.
Very soft-spoken gentleman. Says 4 words a week.
He's a familiar face to
Yes.
us and to our colleagues in the guide service.
Parece que así vamos a ver la ceremonia de lejos para no enterarnos qué pasa. Aquí vemos el edificio, señores, vacío todo, vacío. Esto da vergüenza. Y quieren decirnos que es porque el COVID, porque no sé qué, porque no. No. Aquí estamos viendo, señores, la llegada de allá se ve Kamala Harris con su esposo. ¡Ay, casi se cae! Oh, qué malo soy. Por poco se le cae la...
Officer Goodman, this is a walk he's made many a time, but never as part of the procession in quite this way.
Don't you feel like he's on duty? He's just,
You can see his eyes sort of going back and forth. Now, of course, he's seeing familiar faces all around him, but
Ladies and gentlemen, accompanying the Vice President-elect, the Chief of Inaugural Ceremonies, Maria Miller-Lohmeyer, the Acting Deputy House Sergeant-at-Arms, Kevin Grubbs, and the Acting Deputy Senate Sergeant-at-Arms, United States Capitol Police Officer Private First Class Eugene O. Goodman.
well, crescendo of applause, and we know who that's for.
yeah.
Officer Goodman. His actions more than heroic.
Oh, there we see Speaker Pelosi. And looks like the rest of the JSIC there preparing to cross. So
Warrior in a red scarf.
we've got to spell out our acronyms. It's the Joint Congressional Committee on
Ladies and
Inaugural
gentlemen,
Ceremonies.
the Vice President-elect of the United States, Kamala Devi Harris, and Mr. Douglas Emhoff.
Vice President-elect Harris, who resigned her seat as a senator from California just yesterday, and today, very shortly, to be sworn in as Vice President.
So her office within the Capitol will move
Yes.
from her senator's office to the vice president's office.
It's really
Senate
rich,
side
rich,
Capitol.
really. Vice President. Executive office building.
Putting the locus of the vice president's office here at the Capitol. But of course, they are the tie-breaking vote in the Senate. All right, so on our camera there on the right, we can see Representative Hoyer in the red scarf, member of the Joint Committee, the JC.
Allá atrás viene la muñequita de cuerda. Mira, ahí viene. Ya la recargaron. Vino activada. Esa mujer no se mueve. Allá atrás viene la pelusa. Camina como si no tuviera. Las coyunturas no se le mueven. Pobrecita, de verdad. Es un ser digno de lástima que con 80 y pico. Yo no sé qué edad tiene ya la pelusa, pero de verdad, a su edad debería estar retirada. Ahí vemos a Mike Pence.
Oh, that's a moment there. Vice President.
VP
Vice
meeting
President.
VP.
Yes, Harris elect. Vice President-elect Harris, yes.
Fíjate que Mike Pence sí fue a la ceremonia. Esto es vomitivo.
The real furniture, folks. There's folding chairs out there, but it's a real chair and a real table. And on that table, I believe, are some of the sacred texts that are going to be used today. Representative Clyburn there having a moment with VP-elect Harris.
Do I see snow?
I see snow flurries, it looks like, in this shot of Chuck Schumer.
Those are snow flurries. You notice it has gotten considerably darker.
Yeah, the wind did pick up.
But soon to be the 46th president.
Joe
Biden. Dr.
Joe Biden
making their way.
getting ready to cross through the crypt. I can't stress enough that we have cameras in areas that you won't see on any other live stream or broadcast. These behind the scenes shots, this idea
The
that you
Joint
can see into the
Congressional
visitor
Committee
center.
on Inaugural Ceremonies, Staff Representative Alexandria Gordican DeChico, accompanying the House Republican leader, the Honorable Kevin McCarthy. Staff Representative Bridget Brennan, accompanying House Majority Leader, the Honorable Steny Hoyer and Mrs. Yvette Lewis. Staff Representative Kate Knudsen, accompanying Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Nancy Pelosi and Mr. Paul Pelosi. Staff Representative Lindsey Kerr, accompanying the Honorable Amy Klobuchar and Mr. John Bessler. Staff Representative Stephanie Hager Mucko, accompanying Senate Majority Leader, the Honorable Mitch McConnell and the Honorable Elaine L. Chao. And Staff Representative Rochelle Graves Schroeder, accompanying the Chairman of the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, the Honorable Roy Blunt and Mrs. Abigail Blunt.
So those members of the JCEC, the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, the official host of today's 59th inaugural ceremonies, we can see them there headed out onto the platform. The announcer just said the names.
Proud moment for the committee.
They've put all this together.
Not just September, well before that, the planning has gone on. And now let's be honest, this has been a different inauguration and hopefully something that we won't see again. For a lot of different reasons, and they've really pulled this off handsomely. There goes Senator Blunt, the former Majority Whip of the House. He's been through a few of these ceremonies. Again, this is the second time he has chaired this committee.
Yes.
There's been 5 people to chair the committee twice, and Senator Blunt would be the latest.
He spoke of this ceremony today being an assurance for all people, our continued and unbroken commitment, continuity, stability, perseverance, democracy. As we get ready to see the peaceful transfer of power, an event both commonplace and miraculous. President-elect Biden here and Dr. Jill Biden just passing through the crypt of the Capitol, soon to emerge onto the platform. We can see the back of the Obamas here on the platform. Cole and Ella, and it's snowing. Cole and Ella, VP Harris's children there. Ella is the young lady you see with the plaid coat with kind of a embellishment on the shoulder.
Ladies and gentlemen, accompanying the President-elect, the Staff Director of the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, Fitzhugh Elder IV, the Acting House Senate Sergeant-at-Arms, Tim Blodgett, and the Acting Senate Sergeant-at-Arms, Jennifer Hemingway.
You know, snow, not unheard of in Washington in January. But you know what? When they used to have these in March, snow was also not unheard of.
Not at all.
Until 1933, inaugurations happened in March, and pretty risky in the era before paved roads.
Well, our last inauguration, we had a little bit of rain. President Trump on our last inauguration. Of course, President Obama, I think it was about 25 degrees.
The weather's always an element.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President-elect of the United States, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. and Dr. Jill Biden.
This piece by the Marine Band Trio from Hail America. The Marine Band known as the President's Own. They play at the pleasure of the President and the Commandant of the Marine Corps. And they've played at every inauguration since Jefferson's. Biden's approaching their seats on the platform here. Greeting former VP Dan Quayle.
Look at his eyes.
The pride.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
That's a phrase that is well welcomed right now. Let's enjoy the ceremony.
Please welcome the Honorable Amy Klobuchar.
Vice President Pence, Mr. President-elect, Madam Vice President-elect, members of Congress and the judicial branch, former presidents and first ladies, vice presidents, leaders from abroad, and a whole bunch of Bidens. America, welcome to the 59th presidential inauguration, where in just a few moments, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will take their solemn oaths. This ceremony is the culmination of 244 years of a democracy. It is the moment when leaders brought to this stage by the will of the people promise to be faithful to our Constitution, to cherish it and defend it. It is the moment when they become, as we all should be, guardians of our country. Have we become too jaded, too accustomed to the ritual of the passing of the torch of democracy to truly appreciate what a blessing and a privilege it is to witness this moment? I think not. 2 weeks ago, when an angry, violent mob staged an insurrection and desecrated this temple of our democracy, it awakened us to our responsibilities as Americans. This is the day when our democracy picks itself up, brushes off the dust, and does what America always does, goes forward as a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This conveyance of a sacred trust between our leaders and our people takes place in front of this shining Capitol dome for a reason. When Abraham Lincoln gave his first inaugural address in front of this Capitol, the dome was only partially constructed, braced by ropes of steel. He promised he would finish it. He was criticized for spending funds on it during the Civil War. To those critics, he replied, "If the people see the Capitol going on, it is a sign we intend the Union shall go on." And it did, and it will. Generations of Americans gave their lives to preserve our republic in this place. Great legislation to protect civil rights and economic security and lead the world was debated and crafted under this dome. Now it falls on all of us, not just the two leaders we are inaugurating today, to take up the torch of our democracy, not as a weapon of political arson, but as an instrument for good. We pledge today never to take our democracy for granted as we celebrate its remarkable strength. We celebrate its resilience, its grit. We celebrate the ordinary people doing extraordinary things for our nation, the doctors and nurses on the front line of this pandemic, the officers in the Capitol, a new generation never giving up hope for justice. We celebrate a new president, Joe Biden, who vows to restore the soul of America and cross the river of our divides to a higher plane. And we celebrate our first African American, first Asian American, and first woman vice president, Kamala Harris, who stands on the shoulders of so many on this platform who have forged the way to this day. When she takes the oath of office, little girls and boys across the world will know that anything and everything is possible. And in the end, that is America, our democracy, a country of so much good. And today, on these Capitol steps and before this glorious field of flags, we rededicate ourselves to its cause. Thank you. It is now my honor to introduce to you the senator who has worked with me and so many others to make this ceremony possible. My friend and the chair of the inaugural committee, Missouri Senator Roy Blunt.
Well, I should have known when Senator Klobuchar got involved, at least there'd be a touch of snow up here this morning. Of all the things we'd considered, I don't think snow was on my agenda till I walked out the door a moment ago. But thank you, Senator Klobuchar, and thanks to the other members of the Joint Congressional Committee on the inauguration as we officially begin the 59th inaugural ceremony. I also want to thank the Joint Committee staff and our partners, particularly our security partners, for the way they've dealt with unprecedented circumstances. When I chaired the inauguration 4 years ago, I shared President Reagan's 1981 description of this event as commonplace and miraculous. Commonplace because we've done it every 4 years since 1789. Miraculous because we've done it every 4 years since 1789. Americans have celebrated this moment during war, during depression, and now during pandemic. Once again, all three branches of our government come together as the Constitution envisions. Once again, we renew our commitment to our determined democracy, forging a more perfect union. That theme for this inauguration, our determined democracy, forging a more perfect union, was announced by the Joint Committee before the election, with the belief that the United States can only fulfill its promise and set an example for others if we are always working to be better than we have been. The Constitution established that determined democracy with its first three words, declaring the people as the source of the government. The Articles of Confederation hadn't done that. The Magna Carta hadn't done that. Only the Constitution says the government exists because the people are the source of the reason it exists. They immediately followed those first three words with the words to form a more perfect union. The founders did not say to form a perfect union. They did not claim that in our new country nothing would need to be improved. Fortunately, they understood that always working to be better would be the hallmark of a great democracy. The freedoms we have today, the nation we have today, is not here just because it happened, and they aren't complete. A great democracy working through the successes and failures of our history, striving to be better than it had been. And we are more than we have been, and we are less than we hope to be. The assault on our Capitol at this very place just 2 weeks ago reminds us that a government designed to balance and check itself is both fragile and resilient. During the last year, the pandemic challenged our free and open society and called for extraordinary determination and sacrifice, and still challenges us today.
Señores, ustedes no están viendo esto ya como el inicio del país perfecto que ellos te van a empezar a vender. Esto es, a mí me parece, yo estoy viendo el noticiero cubano o el noticiero de Venezuela. Esto es algo que se esperaba y va a suceder. De hecho, voy a aprovechar porque no me interesa escuchar todas las mentiras estas para saludar a las personas que se van conectando. Sergio Pedroso, muy buenos días también para Ari Jauregui, también ahí de la calle, está Wendy López por aquí, la Pupa Martí está por aquí también. Muy buenos días para Yaya, buenos días para mi Carmencita, Alois Nápoles, gracias por estar, a May Mirna, gracias por estar, María Alonso, también gracias por estar, a Merliet Jiménez, Chepis Espinosa, Randy, hermano, gracias por estar, saludos para Garcel Gordón, gracias también para Agni Arrué, mi terracota, gracias por estar por aquí, Cosabella Llano, gracias Janet 03 Robledo, gracias Cuca Veneno por estar por aquí, también está mi Alexis, el Pinochet cubano, gracias por estar. Señores, esto es más de lo mismo. Javier Sabina, buenos días. ¿Desde qué ciudad me ves? Me encantaría saber desde qué ciudad me estás viendo. Estamos siendo testigos, señores. Hay gente que dice, no, es que yo no puedo ver esto. Esto hay que verlo, señores. Esto hay que verlo porque no podemos dejar que después nos digan que todo es mentira. Que todo fue un cuento y ya en unos minutos va a ser la inauguración. Falta 30 minutos para que tengamos la despedida de Donald Trump oficialmente como presidente número 45 de los Estados Unidos de América. Esto es un momento triste, señores. Walkiria, un beso grande, mi corazón. Gracias a Gilly, que está viéndonos desde la Florida. Mari dice, Boris, mi relación contigo se ha hecho más fuerte cada día. Tenemos los mismos up and downs. Gracias. Aquí estamos, señores. Nelsa Cáceres, saludos también para Yeji Yanza, mi vida. Besitos grandes para ti. Saludos a la gente que nos ve desde San Antonio, Texas. Aquí vemos a Jeremiah O'Donovan, un reverendo.
But we come still more with hope.
Saludos a la gente que nos ve desde España, saludos hasta Perú, gracias a los amigos que nos ven desde Perú, saludos a la gente que nos ve desde Miami, saludos a la gente de Boca Ratón, Florida, gracias a todos los que nos ven en Zurich. Alexis, tú eres el jefe ahí en Zurich. Saludos también para la gente que nos ve en Alemania, gracias por estar conmigo, gracias por confiar en este canal para ser testigos de esta desgracia. Señores, Marlene Isaac, mi vida, un beso grande, apretado y sonado. Saludos, mariposa, mi vida, hasta Alemania. Vamos a escuchar, señores, el por qué. Y déjame decirte algo, hace falta que le den un like a la directa. Usted no le va a dar un like a lo que está pasando, es un like a mi transmisión, porque si no, me tumban y, pues bueno, me afecta a mi canal. Gracias a Alma que nos ve desde Miami. Aquí estamos viendo al señor que ya le pusieron batería. Hay que apurarse. Recuerde que la batería de litio se descarga en el frío y Nancy Pelosi y Morbocín están ya más para allá que para acá. Y de verdad, esto a mí yo no me puedo creer, señores, que esto suceda en los Estados Unidos, pero bueno, gracias Mireli que nos ve desde Miami, gracias Mariposa, mi vida, gracias de verdad. Señores, necesito que den un like, que compartan la transmisión, vamos a llegar a más personas. Ari Jauregui, vente para YouTube, mi vida. A todas las personas que están en Facebook, le agradecería muchísimo que se salten a YouTube. Le voy a poner el enlace al canal de YouTube para que vengan por aquí, porque eso me ayuda un poco más.
Power in each and every one of us that lives by turning to every other one of us, a thrust of the spirit to cherish and care and stand by others, and above all, those most in need. It is called love, and its path is to give ever more of itself. Today, it is called American patriotism. Born not of power and privilege, but of care for the common good, with malice toward none, and with charity for all. For our new president, we beg of you the wisdom Solomon sought when he knelt before you and prayed for an understanding heart, so that I can govern your people and know the difference between right and wrong. We trust in the counsel of the letter of James. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. Pope Francis has reminded us how important it is to dream together. By ourselves, he wrote, we risk seeing mirages, things that are not there.
Estas son las cosas que yo te estaba anunciando. Yo te estaba anunciando esto precisamente. Mira, ahí ves este espacio vacío, lleno de, ahí estás abajo viendo los militares, mucho militar. Esto da vergüenza. Y decir que es por el COVID es una excusa barata. Puro militar. Ahí vemos al señor que ya está sin batería, ya se va doblando. Le van a meter un shot de batería ahí. O de whisky, como la Pelosi, pero bueno, ahí estamos viendo, señores, de verdad, esto es la excusa, es la justificación de todo. Ahora va a suceder, ¿se acuerdan? En Cuba, todo lo malo era por culpa de Batista. Bueno, ahora va a ser algo parecido. Todo lo malo del país va a ser culpa del presidente Donald Trump. Todo lo malo del país va a ser culpa de ¿quién? Ahora le van a echar la culpa a ¿quién? A Trudeau en Canadá. Esto es absurdo. Yo te voy a ser sincero, ahora va a empezar una campaña mediática horrible para resaltar la figura de Joe Biden. Lo van a poner como el salvador de América. En cualquier momento le hacen una estatua, quitan a Lincoln de ahí de Washington y ponen a Biden, porque así funciona la política, señores, así funciona. Hay algo que los demócratas tienen de su lado desde el tiempo de Barack Obama, y es la prensa con la que el presidente Donald Trump nunca tuvo unas buenas relaciones. Y por supuesto, aquí estamos viendo, sigue el show, sigue el espectáculo en el Capitolio de los Estados Unidos. Estamos presenciando la inauguración de lo que es el mandato presidencial, el periodo de mandato de Joe Biden. Aquí estamos viendo esta ceremonia. Esta parte es bien bonita porque es la presentación de las banderas y vamos a verla.
Ladies and gentlemen, here for the singing of our national anthem, accompanied by the President's own United States Marine Band, please welcome Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga va a estar cantando el himno nacional con la banda de marines de los Estados Unidos. Veamos.
Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. For the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare. The bombasting
Yo meto mi cuchareta, pero está vestida de rojo y negro. Eso me recuerda el 26 de julio. Pero bueno, miren, yo sí muestro respeto por el himno de los Estados Unidos. La voz de Lady Gaga es maravillosa. A mí me gusta Lady Gaga. Yo no puedo decirte que no, pero no.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from the city of South Fulton, Georgia Fire and Rescue Department, President of the International Association of Firefighters, Local 3920, Fire Captain Andrea M. Hall, for the reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What you are all about to be part of, America, is a historic moment of firsts. To administer the oath to our first African American, our first Asian American, and our first woman vice president, Kamala Harris, it is my great privilege to welcome to the inaugural stage the first Latina to ever serve on the Supreme Court of the United States of America, Justice Sonia Sotomayor.
Y te venden a Kamala como la primera mujer, la primera afroamericana, afroasiática. No. En cualquier momento dicen que nació en Cuba. Sonia Sotomayor va a ser la juramentación de Kamala Harris como vicepresidenta de los Estados Unidos. Vamos a ver esto.
Please raise your right hand.
Levante su mano y vamos a escuchar.
I, Kamala Davy Harris, do solemnly swear
I, Kamala Davy Harris, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
that I will well and faithfully discharge
that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Please welcome Jennifer Lopez to perform This Land Is Your Land and America the Beautiful, accompanied by members of the President's Own United States Marine Band.
This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking down that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. Oh, this land, oh, this land was made for you and me. Oh, this land, oh, this land was made for you and me. You and me. Thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. Una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. Let's get this land was made for you and me.
Well, that was great. The sun is shining, and Mr. President-elect, this is the first inauguration in the history of America where J-Lo was the warm-up act for Chief Justice Roberts. With that, it is now my distinct honor to introduce the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, John Roberts, to administer the presidential oath to the next President of the United States, Joseph R. Biden.
Prepárense porque se va el noticiero Telemundo y va a empezar a Serrano a dar las noticias aquí en Estados Unidos. Verán. Ay, Dios mío. Vamos, arriba, quitarse las máscaras.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
Office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Y oficialmente, señores, Joe Biden es el presidente de los Estados Unidos de América.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Ahora le va a dar un discurso aquí a las banderas. Le están dando la batería ahora, señores. Están recargándole las baterías porque no va a poder terminar. Ay, Dios mío. Señores, necesito que le den like a este video, no a lo que está pasando. Like para el video y, bueno, compartir para que la gente vea. La gente tiene que ver esto. Esto es como un chiste mal contado, señores. Ahí están, van a alejarte las cámaras porque no se puede ver el cable que le ponen a Morbosín para que tenga batería para poder dar su discurso de 2 palabras. Y bueno, vamos a esperar. Según se estaba diciendo, se va a presentar desde el día de mañana, el día 21 de enero, se le va a presentar un impeachment al señor Joe Biden por inepto. Y pues bueno, ya comenzamos, señores, con el primer mediodía de esta desgracia.
My fellow Americans, a moment we have all been waiting for.
Yo no.
It is now my great privilege and high honor to be the first person to officially introduce the 46th President of the United States, Joseph R. Biden, Jr.
Qué feliz estoy, qué feliz estoy.
Chief Justice Roberts, Vice President Harris, Speaker Pelosi, Leader Schumer, Leader McConnell, Vice President Pence, and my distinguished guests, my fellow Americans. This is America's day.
¿Dónde están los americanos?
This is democracy's day. A day of history and hope, of renewal and resolve. Through a crucible for the ages, America has been tested anew, and America has risen to the challenge. Today, we celebrate the triumph not of a candidate, but of a cause, the cause of democracy. The people, the will of the people has been heard, and the will of the people has been heeded. We've learned again that democracy is precious.
¿Pero quién le habla a él?
Democracy is fragile. And at this hour, my friends, democracy has prevailed. So now, on this hallowed ground where just a few days ago, violence sought to shake the Capitol's very foundation, we come together as one nation, under God, indivisible, to carry out the peaceful transfer of power as we have for more than 2 centuries. As we look ahead in our uniquely American way, restless, bold, optimistic, and set our sights on the nation we know we can be and we must be. I thank my predecessors of both parties for their presence here today. I thank them from the bottom of my heart And I know the resilience of our Constitution and the strength of our nation, as does President Carter, who I spoke with last night, who cannot be with us today, but whom we salute for his lifetime in service. I've just taken the sacred oath each of those patriots have taken. The oath first sworn by George Washington. But the American story depends not on any one of us, not on some of us, but on all of us, on we the people who seek a more perfect union. This is a great nation. We are good people. And over the centuries, through storm and strife, in peace and in war, we've come so far, but we still have far to go. We'll press forward with speed and urgency, for we have much to do in this winter of peril and significant possibilities. Much to repair, much to restore, much to heal, much to build, and much to gain. Few people in our nation's history have been more challenged or found a time more challenging or difficult than the time we're in now. Once in a century virus that silently stalks the country. It's taken as many lives in 1 year as America lost in all of World War II. Millions of jobs have been lost. Hundreds of thousands of businesses closed. A cry for racial justice, some 400 years in the making, moves us. The dream of justice for all will be deferred no longer. A cry for survival comes from the planet itself. A cry that can't be any more desperate or any more clear. And now, a rise of political extremism, white supremacy, domestic terrorism, that we must confront and we will defeat. To overcome these challenges, to restore the soul and secure the future of America, requires so much more than words. It requires the most elusive of all things in a democracy: unity. Unity. In another January, on New Year's Day in 1863, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. When he put pen to paper, the president said, and I quote, "If my name ever goes down into history, it'll be for this act, and my whole soul is in it." My whole soul is in it. Today, on this January day, my whole soul is in this. Bringing America together, uniting our people, uniting our nation. And I ask every American to join me in this cause. Uniting to fight the foes we face: anger, resentment and hatred, extremism, lawlessness, violence, disease, joblessness, and hopelessness. With unity, we can do great things, important things. We can right wrongs. We can put people to work in good jobs. We can teach our children in safe schools. We can overcome the deadly virus. We can reward work and rebuild the middle class and make healthcare secure for all. We can deliver racial justice, and we can make America once again the leading force for good in the world. I know speaking of unity can sound to some like a foolish fantasy these days. I know the forces that divide us are deep and they are real. But I also know they are not new. Our history has been a constant struggle between the American ideal that we're all created equal and the harsh, ugly reality that racism, nativism, fear, demonization have long torn us apart. The battle is perennial, and victory is never assured. through Civil War, the Great Depression, World War, 9/11, through struggle, sacrifice, and setbacks, our better angels have always prevailed. In each of these moments, enough of us have come together to carry all of us forward. And we can do that now. History, faith, and reason show the way of unity. We can see each other not as adversaries, but as neighbors. We can treat each other with dignity and respect. We can join forces, stop the shouting, and lower the temperature. Without unity, there is no peace, only bitterness and fury. No progress, only exhausting outrage. No nation, only a state of chaos. This is our historic moment of crisis and challenge. And unity is the path forward. And we must meet this moment as the United States of America. If we do that, I guarantee you we will not fail. We have never, ever, ever, ever failed in America. We've acted together. And so today, at this time, in this place, let's start afresh. All of us. Let's begin to listen to one another again. Hear one another. See one another. Show respect to one another. Politics doesn't have to be a raging fire, destroying everything in its path. Every disagreement doesn't have to be a cause for total war. And we must reject the culture in which facts themselves are manipulated and even manufactured. My fellow Americans, we have to be different than this. America has to be better than this. And I believe America is so much better than this. Just look around. Here we stand in the shadow of the Capitol Dome, as was mentioned earlier, completed amid the Civil War, when the Union itself was literally hanging in the balance. Yet we endured. We prevailed. Here we stand, looking out on the great mall where Dr. King spoke of his dream. Here we stand where 108 years ago, at another inaugural, thousands of protesters tried to block brave women marching for the right to vote. And today, we mark the swearing in of the first woman in American history elected to national office, Vice President Kamala Harris. Don't tell me things can't change. Here we stand across the Potomac from Arlington Cemetery, where heroes who gave the last full measure of devotion rest in eternal peace. And here we stand, just days after a riotous mob thought they could use violence to silence the will of the people, to stop the work of our democracy, to drive us from this sacred ground. It did not happen. It will never happen. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever, not ever. To all those who supported our campaign, I'm humbled by the faith you've placed in us. To all those who did not support us, let me say this. Hear me out as we move forward. Take a measure of me and my heart. And if you still disagree, so be it. That's democracy. That's America. The right to dissent peaceably within the guardrails of our republic is perhaps this nation's greatest strength. Yet hear me clearly. Disagreement must not lead to disunion. And I pledge this to you. I will be a president for all Americans. All Americans. And I promise you, I will fight as hard for those who did not support me as for those who did. Many centuries ago, St. Augustine, a saint of my church, wrote that a people was a multitude defined by the common objects of their love. defined by the common objects of their love. What are the common objects we as Americans love that define us as Americans? I think we know. Opportunity, security, liberty, dignity, respect, honor, and yes, the truth. Recent weeks and months have taught us a painful lesson. There is truth and there are lies. Lies told for power and for profit. And each of us has a duty and a responsibility as citizens, as Americans, and especially as leaders. Leaders who have pledged to honor our Constitution and protect our nation, to defend the truth and defeat the lies. Look, I understand that many of my fellow Americans view the future with fear and trepidation. I understand they worry about their jobs. I understand, like my dad, they lay at bed at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering, can I keep my health care? Can I pay my mortgage? Thinking about their families, about what comes next. I promise you, I get it. But the answer is not to turn inward, to retreat into competing factions, distrusting those who don't look like you, or worship the way you do, or don't get their news from the same sources you do. We must end this uncivil war that pits red against blue, rural versus urban, conservative versus liberal. We can do this if we open our souls instead of hardening our hearts, if we show a little tolerance and humility, and if we're willing to stand in the other person's shoes, as my mom would say, just for a moment, stand in their shoes. Because here's the thing about life. There's no accounting for what fate will deal you. Some days, when you need a hand. There are other days when we're called to lend a hand. That's how it has to be. This is what we do for one another. And if we are this way, our country will be stronger, more prosperous, more ready for the future. And we can still disagree. My fellow Americans, in the work ahead of us, we're going to need each other. We need all our strength to persevere through this dark winter. We're entering what may be the toughest and deadliest period of the virus. We must set aside politics and finally face this pandemic as one nation. One nation. And I promise you this, as the Bible says, weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. We will get through this together. Together. Look, folks, all my colleagues I serve with in the House and the Senate up here, we all understand the world is watching all of us today. So here's my message to those beyond our borders. America has been tested, and we've come out stronger for it. We will repair our alliances and engage with the world once again. Not to meet yesterday's challenges, but today's and tomorrow's challenges. And we'll lead not merely by the example of our power, but by the power of our example. We'll be a strong and trusted partner for peace, progress, and security. Look, you all know we've been through so much in this nation. And in my first act as president, I'd like to ask you to join me in a moment of silent prayer. Remember all of those who we lost in this past year to the pandemic. Those 400,000 fellow Americans, moms, dads, husbands, wives, sons, daughters.
Ya viene la manipulación, señores, la manipulación.
We'll honor them for becoming the people and the nation we know we can and should be. So I ask you, let's say a silent prayer for those who've lost their lives and those left behind, and for our country. Amen. Folks, this is a time of testing. We face an attack on our democracy and on truth, a raging virus, growing inequity, the sting of systemic racism, a climate in crisis, America's role in the world. Any one of these would be enough to challenge us in profound ways. But the fact is, we face them all at once, presenting this nation with one of the gravest responsibilities we've had. Now we're going to be tested. Are we going to step up, all of us? It's time for boldness, for there's so much to do. And this is certain. I promise you, we will be judged, you and I, by how we resolve these cascading crises of our era. We will rise to the occasion is the question. Will we master this rare and difficult hour? Will we meet our obligations and pass along a new and better world to our children? I believe we must. I'm sure you do as well. I believe we will. And when we do, we'll write the next great chapter in the history of the United States of America, the American story. A story that might sound something like a song that means a lot to me. It's called American Anthem. There's one verse that stands out, at least for me, and it goes like this. The work and prayers of century have brought us to this day. What shall be our legacy? What will our children say? Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, America, I gave my best to you. Let's us add our own work and prayers to the unfolding story of our great nation. If we do this, then when our days are through, our children and our children's children will say of us, they gave their best, they did their duty, they healed a broken land. My fellow Americans, I close the day where I began, with the sacred oath. Before God and all of you, I give you my word. I will always level with you. I will defend the Constitution. I'll defend our democracy. I'll defend America. And will give all of you, keep everything I do in your service, thinking not of power, but of possibilities, not of personal interest, but the public good. And together we shall write an American story of hope, not fear, of unity, not division, of light, not darkness, a story of decency and dignity, love and healing, greatness and goodness. May this be the story that guides us, the story that inspires us, and the story that tells ages yet to come that we answered the call of history. We met the moment. Democracy and hope, truth and justice did not die on our watch, but thrived. That America secured liberty at home and stood once again as a beacon to the world. That is what we owe our forebears, one another, and generation to follow. So, with purpose and resolve, we turn to those tasks of our time, sustained by faith, driven by conviction, and devoted to one another and the country we love with all our hearts. May God bless America, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, America.
Ay, Dios mío, esto es un show. Este tipo me recordaba a Chávez.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Garth Brooks to perform Amazing Grace.
Esto es lo que vamos a tener, pan y circo, señores, pan y circo aquí en los Estados Unidos, porque ahora todos estos izquierdosos que son artistas y que, venga, you know.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. When we've been there 10,000 years.
Ay, Dios mío, esto es para cortarse las venas, señores. Yo voy a ponerle ahora a ustedes, porque ya este show está a punto de terminar. Yo les voy a poner a ustedes el último discurso como presidente de los Estados Unidos. Nuestro Donald Trump ha dado un discurso espectacular y vamos a verlo, porque realmente su discurso de despedida, señores, que de verdad es que triste. Señores, yo sé que la gente se incomoda con este show que hemos visto, pero necesitamos darle like a la transmisión. Las caritas molestas lo que hacen es molestar a Facebook y nos tumban. Y aquí vamos a ver este discurso del presidente Donald J. Trump. Bueno.
Morning, everybody. Brian Glenn here, Right Side Broadcasting on this January 20th.
Déjame poner ya la parte del disco.
Trump and First Lady taking the stage. All right, a few words from the President and First Lady. Let's listen in.
Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. And we love you. And I can tell you that from the bottom of my heart. This has been an incredible 4 years. We've accomplished so much together.
Han sido unos 4 años increíbles. Los queremos mucho desde el fondo de mi corazón, la familia, los amigos.
So many other people for being here. I want to thank.
Agradecer a todo el mundo por estar aquí, a la familia, a los amigos.
People have no idea how hard this family works.
Las personas no tienen idea cuán lejos la familia esta ha llegado. Y ha llegado por ustedes. Pudiesen haber tenido una vida mucho más fácil, pero están aquí.
Mark Meadows, who's here, someplace right there. I want to thank Mark. But it's been something very special. We've accomplished a lot. Our First Lady has been a woman of great grace and beauty and dignity. And so popular with the people, so popular with the people. In fact, honey, would you like to say a few words, please?
Being your First Lady was my greatest honor.
Thank you for your love and your support. You will be in my thoughts and prayers. God bless you all. God bless your families. And God bless this beautiful nation. Thank you.
What else has to be said, right? But what we've done, that's true, honey, great job. What we've done has been amazing by any standard. We rebuilt the United States military. We created a new force called Space Force. That in itself would be a major achievement for a regular administration. We were not a regular administration. We took care of the vets, 91% approval rating. They've never had that before. The vets have given us, the VA, the vets have given us an approval rating like has never been before. We took care of our vets and our beautiful vets. They were...
Señores, y ahí vimos al presidente de los Estados Unidos, presidente número 45 de los Estados Unidos, Donald J. Trump, despedirse de su gente. Una situación diferente, la alegría de la gente, gente emocionada, el rostro de los militares al verlo. Entonces, de verdad, señores, de verdad, qué horror, señores. Qué horror. Vamos a poner las imágenes de vuelta en la ceremonia de los, yo digo, esta es la ceremonia anual de los Oscars. Todo el circo que han armado en Washington con el tema de la inauguración de la presidencia, del nuevo mandato del presidente. Y bueno.
United. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Esta ceremonia a mí me recuerda cuando uno estaba chiquito que te decían, trae a tus papás a lo que es la exposición de los trabajos prácticos y nadie te entendía, pero tu familia te daba aplausos. Bueno, esto es lo que me parece a mí que ha sucedido en esta ceremonia de inauguración. Entonces, señores, ahora tenemos 4 años, señores, 4 años donde tendremos que salir adelante, no queda de otra. Son los MTV.
Hard not to be reminded of President Obama's singing that same song at the Mother Emanuel Church. A song that in our culture is as close to both poetry and prayer as you could possibly come. And we're going to finish with those two things. Let me introduce Amanda Gorman, our nation's first ever National Poet Laureate.
Mr. President.
Qué bonita, parece un búcaro.
Madam Vice President, Mr. Emhoff, Americans, and the world. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace, and the norms and notions of what just isn't always just is. And yet the dawn is ours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time where a skinny Black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, but that doesn't mean we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge our union with purpose, to compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. And so we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true. That even as we grieved, we grew, that even as we hurt, we hoped, that even as we tired, we tried, that we'll forever be tied together, victorious, not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. Scripture tells us to envision that everyone shall sit under their own vine and fig tree.
Yo no puedo más con esto. Niña, cállate, por Dios. De verdad, ya yo no puedo más con esto. Qué cosa más aburrida. Dios mío, esta niña parece un búcaro vendido en San Miguel del Padrón. A mí que Dios me perdone, no es racismo, pero eso parece un búcaro de San Miguel del Padrón. Mírenlo ahí, un búcaro de esos que hacían allá en las tiendas de San Miguel, ilegales, cuando se robaban los contenedores y los derretían. Esta niña es un búcaro hecho de contenedor, de Dios me perdone, pero de verdad que no. Señores, ¿qué usted piensa que va a suceder ahora mismo? ¿Qué usted piensa que va a suceder? El doctor Alex González nos pide disculpas. Más tarde vamos a regresar con otro espacio juntos porque ha tenido que estar trabajando. ¿Qué usted piensa? No, ya terminó. No, ya yo la terminé. Aquí se acabó. Ya yo no aguanto más esto. Esto es un chiste mal contado. Agradecer a todas las personas que se han unido a esto. Yo ahora mismo, para que nadie se robe la idea, voy a iniciar un diario. De sobreviviendo a Biden. Le voy a poner así. Porque es que yo no entiendo de verdad. Yo no entiendo. No es que yo no quiera entender, es que yo no puedo entender qué está sucediendo en este país. Pero bueno. Dios bendito. Dios bendito. Gracias a toda la gente que se ha conectado, gracias a la gente que apoya el canal. Si tú estás por aquí, suscríbete, activa todas las notificaciones, comparte este video. Esta toma de posesión ha sido un chiste, señores, un chiste, de verdad. Esto ha sido un chiste mal contado y ojalá que le vaya bien al señor Biden, ojalá que le vaya bien porque nos tenemos que meter con papa por los próximos 4 años. Si no le sucede nada en su salud está muy malita, la batería no le dura nada, es como un teléfono viejo que se descarga rápido. Señores, este gobierno está lleno de gente vieja. Y no es, y escúchame bien, no es por discriminar a las personas mayores contemporáneos con Alexi o con Sergio, es que es necesaria la juventud para impulsar al país. Esto es un gobierno que no está representando al pueblo americano. Esto es un gobierno que ni siquiera ha tenido la posibilidad de prepararte una ceremonia de inauguración porque todo es culpa del COVID. Es que esto es un chiste mal contado. De verdad, mira, apaga y vámonos. Kamala Harris está tan vieja como Carmencita. Joe Biden tiene la edad de Alexi y de Sergio. Entonces, ¿quién me representa a mí? ¿Quién representa a Mariposa? Entonces, esto es Esto es el hogar de ancianos, estamos vivos de milagro. En cualquier momento, señores, en cualquier momento. Así mismo es un geriátrico. Este gobierno es un geriátrico. Ya según medios de prensa reportan que están instalando en la Casa Blanca las rampas de acceso porque este señor en cualquier momento no va a poder levantar una pata para subir las escaleras a la Casa Blanca. Esto es un chiste, señores. ¿Quién me representa a mí? ¿Quién representa a Tsunami? La gente joven de este canal. ¿Quién? Señores, hay que seguir. Yo voy a seguir. Yo no voy a dejar de reportar las cosas. Hay que hacerlo con cuidado porque los izquierdosos, lo que van a hacer ahora es el ataque y la censura. Ya en Miami tú ves estos canales, señores. Tú ves estos canales que te están diciendo hay que censurar a Otaola, hay que censurar a la Lius Antiesteban, hay que censurar. ¿Por qué? Porque si cuando el tiempo, aquí entiendan esto, en tiempos de democracia, con el presidente Donald J. Trump, no se le cerró los canales a nadie. Dejemos este patriotismo falso, este patriotismo asqueroso. Estoy hasta los cojones de los demócratas, honestamente. Discúlpenme, pero ya estoy asqueado de toda la falsa, el falso patriotismo. Es un discurso asqueroso que lo único que busca es llevar a este país a una posición como mismo está Cuba, como mismo está Venezuela. Ojalá que no pueda suceder. 4 años no es mucho tiempo, pero hay que ver, señores. Vamos a estar atentos. Yo no te voy a decir que yo te voy a meter el cuento, no. Yo te voy a hablar con la verdad. Si mañana Biden hace algo bueno, que por ejemplo, descargarse permanentemente, yo voy a salir diciéndotelo. Si la Pelosi renuncia, yo también te lo voy a salir diciendo. En realidad, mire, si hacen algo bueno, tenemos que tener el valor de decir, mira, hicieron algo bueno. Difícil que un demócrata en este momento haga algo bueno que no sea venderle el país a China. Pero bueno, señores, por favor, díganme desde dónde me ven antes de despedirme para irme emocionado y sentir que no me están viendo nada más que desde... Bueno, ahora empezará la gente de Seguridad Nacional como la gente del G2. Yo por sí o por no tengo ahí suficiente munición, suficiente guarnición para comer durante todos estos días. No te has enterado de ningún escándalo, no te has enterado de nada malo, no ha sucedido absolutamente nada malo. Yo estoy chequeando todos los medios de prensa, no ha pasado nada, el país está feliz. Felicidades a los patriotas que han sabido seguir las órdenes del presidente, han sabido cumplir con lo que nos pidió Donald Trump. Nos hemos mantenido calmados mirando esto y viéndolo con muchísimo asombro. Saludos para la gente que nos ve en Holguín, gracias Alina. Besos de aquí a Holguín. Saludo a la gente que está en España, Houston, a la gente que está en Zurich, en Perú, Lima, Perú. Ay, Dios mío. Dios mío. Que Dios bendiga a los Estados Unidos, señores. Que Dios bendiga a los Estados Unidos. Yo voy a despedirme porque me da la gana y porque quiero irme así con esto. Yo lo voy a poner ahora mismo. Déjame buscarlo. Este tema que... A ver, te voy a decir, cada vez que yo pongo esto, tengo que pasarme 2 horas desbloqueando los videos porque inmediatamente después me lo bloquean. Es el video que hiciera el presidente. Un video muy bonito del tema a mi manera. Y de verdad, a mí me gusta porque hay algo que siempre voy a decir. Donald Trump no es perfecto. Donald Trump tiene una mala forma del carajo. Es una persona que te dice lo que piensa y no le importa tu sentimiento. Donald Trump ha vuelto a América grande nuevamente. A lo mejor no lo logró completo, pero lo intentó. Y es algo que yo respeto muchísimo. Y por lo tanto, te voy a compartir. Voy a buscarte aquí en mi galería el video, señores, que me gusta muchísimo. El video que sacó la Casa Blanca, un video de despedida al presidente que me gustó, me encantó, me fascinó. Y te lo voy a compartir en apenas unos instantes. Oye, yo tengo la posibilidad de hablar tanto en lo que busco las cosas que yo me quedo asombrado, de verdad. Porque van a extrañar al presidente Donald Trump. Pónganme sí o no. ¿Lo van a extrañar? ¿Van a extrañar a Donald Trump sí o no? Responda usted ahí a ver qué dice en lo que yo busco esto. Vamos a ver qué dicen ustedes por aquí. Dice, sí se va a extrañar. Trump es directo. Sí se va a extrañar. Sí se va a extrañar. Señores, triste lo que está sucediendo. Triste lo que ha sucedido. Pero bueno, vamos a hacer la despedida del programa de hoy recordando las cosas lindas que ha hecho el presidente Donald Trump, las cosas bonitas que hizo por Estados Unidos. Ciertamente yo no pensé que esto pudiese suceder. Sucedió y aquí estamos hoy siendo testigos de cómo Joe Biden llega a la presidencia de los Estados Unidos, siendo el presidente número 46 de esta gran nación. Y de verdad, para mí es algo increíble, señores. Increíble, increíble. Ya estoy aquí con este video y vamos a verlo, de verdad. Y así yo creo que rendimos homenaje a nuestro presidente. Comparte esto. Dime si cuando tú escuches esto, dime qué sientes. Cuando tú escuches este tema, dime qué sientes de verdad. Vamos para allá.
Station, this is your president. Do you hear me?
Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain.
What a great honor to be able to introduce for the first time ever anywhere the 45th President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
Of which I'm certain.
And yes, together we will make America great again. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
And every highway and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do, saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out.
Gracias a todas las personas que han llegado a esta transmisión. Es muy emocionante ver estas imágenes del presidente. Gracias, presidente Donald Trump. Gracias por tu servicio. Gracias, América, por hacernos ver que podemos ser mejores personas. Ahora nos toca sobrevivir a estos 4 años, esperar que la democracia vuelva a llegar a este gran país y que Dios bendiga a los Estados Unidos, señores. Gracias por estar. Aquí vamos a seguir mientras no nos tumben la señal. Ya estaban intentando bloquearnos en Facebook. Han estado reportando la señal, pero no importa. Aquí vamos a seguir porque América va a seguir siendo grande. Muy buenas tardes.